Hello, my fellow gaming tankers. Happy holidays! And before we get too deep into this, and it is absolutely apropos considering this whole video is about wargaming, join me in prayer. Dear Tank Jeebus, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, for wargaming maketh the rules, and wargaming breaketh the rules. Before we get too far into the game's review, shout out to the developer, designer, whoever did the Ice Queen, the Winter Queen. She looks amazing, and I know this. There's just a little bit of cosplay bait here. Sadly, World of Tanks Modern Armor isn't that game, but I appreciate the effort put into the design. The 3D commanders are getting better. I know that's a whole different semi-controversial topic. We just have 2Ds for cheaper. We don't do anything with the 3D commanders. There's not enough. We have no real accessories to put them on. They're expensive. But again, the whole thing about Modern Armor is absolutely about separating itself from World of Tanks PC. And I don't think there's need to compare it to Blitz. It's not trying to compete with Blitz. From what I can tell, it's always about PC anyways. Similar player base. But yeah, Winter Queen is great start. Got her in one of the free Yule war chests. But this review is almost 50-50 because War Tanks Modern Armor did a lot of little good things this year at the kind of like the first half, but then they're ending the year on a very divisive end. So for me, I still think this has been a good year for the game. We got Metal Fest 3, which saw Rob Zombie and Motorhead. So we're still getting pretty much A-list bands. And did we know at the time that the two bundles being 51,000 gold would kind of be cheap to compare to what's happening now? No. But then the Awoken mode, we saw new tanks. It was fun. It was great. It went longer. We've had small updates and upgrades to the game that we've been needing. Some may say they could have done more for updates and upgrades or improvements of the game, but it seems to be Wargaming's policy of a few small steps over a long period of time. As frustrating as that is, again, the lack of transparency doesn't help. I do agree. Sometimes having a gist of what their roadmap is going to be might help, but they don't want to release that because I guess they are prone to changing things. Sometimes on the fly, or something doesn't work, it gets delayed, and they don't want to give false hope, which can't blame them. The gaming community, we do love making up things in our head about games that do exist or don't exist yet. So I have been I'm enjoying the game. It's been a good year. Try not to get the butt. We had the T-80 line introduced into Cold War. We had another Czechoslovakian lights, I think. Or no, maybe not yet. Another tank line introduced into World War II. 2 tank lines, that's great. Not great. Saying sarcastic. It's kind of like, yeah. Considering that Wargaming as a company is still preferring to pump out premium tanks as a main source of revenue of varying quality. And that is true. There are some premium tanks that are like, that's overpriced and mediocre at best for play style or play wise. To others, that's expensive and also a broken tank. We started seeing that broken tanks become an issue in the Awoken mode. What we thought would be just the Munsterjäger kind of being a bit obnoxiously and in certain situations overpowering in Era 2 of Cold War would eventually lead on to the Weissel MK1. That was a surprisingly hard to detect light tank that was like, oh, these autocannons can't do much, right? No. They can be very powerful in right situations, and if you can't detect the tank, it's harder to see the tank, especially when a tank that suddenly can be right on top of you and then fly away. Well, not fly away, but zoom away. Kind of definitely made me feel like certain tanks definitely felt like their turret speeds were going to need to be improved. That was the nightmare playing as I would... the Weissel MK1 had just come out shortly after, I think the week into the Leclerc tank line getting the on track. Oh, not on track. I'm sorry. This is the 4th video I'm working on today, so I'm trying to get as much done as I can so I can enjoy Christmas and New Year's and just post a video and then not worry about it. So forgive me, but the Leclerc line was on track. It was great up until the Weissel came along, and then that weak armor and trying to work with the stock tanks is always difficult. But then you have, yeah, a lot of autocannons, and then you have the Weissel. It got rough. But then came along, and again, we're talking, there's just only a few weeks in between these tanks coming out, like a month or less. So now the black tanks came out. I'm not going to bother with the alphanumeric nomenclature. I'm just going to call them their simple names. The Avenger, which was a T-48 with the autocannon from the Warthog shoved into its turret that was brought into Era 2. And then, well, I can remember this one, T-42. No, forget it. The Vigilante light tank that was brought into Era 10, or Era 10, Tier 10, that had a Gatling style autocannon and proved to be really good and really fast and really capable. And when those two tanks came out, I kind of was like, well, the Avenger being based off an M48 is going to be slow and big. But I realize autocannon tanks based, or anti-aircraft tanks are going to be coming. That's was kind of what happened with World Tanks BC. They brought in the Czechoslovakian lights. But with Cold War mode and World War II mode, this version of the game has a much larger library of tanks to pull from. So I don't think it needed to go down this route, especially as wheeled vehicles there's only a few in the game. They're all in World War II, and getting the physics behind that down correctly is something that I think a lot of us would like to have over this, considering how long it's like, yeah, it's wheeled tanks have been in this game for years now, but we haven't introduced, we've only had one tank line, and the reason it stopped the French lights was just because, yeah, the physics when it comes to wheeled vehicles were always wonky, and they always struggled to get it down. So yeah, I feel like they've kind of just breezed by that, and yet there's a lot of wheeled vehicles, especially from the perspective of Cold War. It's like, yeah, where are these vehicles? Why did you go with bringing toxic tanks? And it's just, it was this later part of the year where things kind of started to turn, where overpowered premium tanks suddenly were the thing again. You had 4 of these, like almost back to back within weeks of it. Like the Avenger and Vigilante, they came out at the same time as they're this year's Black tanks. Or Black Friday tanks. So that soured a lot of original players, a lot of current players. And then Christmas mode, which was like this is so 50-50. This is exactly how this whole year has been going. It started off great, small things, minor issues, but it's good. And then suddenly wargaming had to do something wargaming like, which kind of wasn't surprising as a veteran of this wargaming game in this world that wargaming's created. But it was just really sad to see how hard it came to World of Tanks Modern Armor. So, on the one hand, and one of a definite great free-to-play move, with all the new modes coming out, there's new currency snowballs that you could get. You could buy 2 new tanks with these snowballs. All you had to do was play the game, do just very certain but very doable acts in-game, either in the actual game itself, in the story mode, in the holiday tank mode, and you would get snowballs that you would accrue 30,000 of them. You could either get the Object 2A3 or the ELC even NA2 SS12. Good lord, I hope I got half that right. But you had one for Era 2. That was the ELC. It's a tank destroyer. An AT-GEM only tank destroyer. And then you had a Russian medium for World War II that you could get for snowballs. But then, the not free-to-play side, with these war chests, that you could only get a tank by buying with gold or money, I can't remember. Yeah, no, with gold, that you had to use real money to buy, that gold, you would buy a chest that if it yielded a specific type of chest that could have the potential to get a tank. These 2 new tanks, the T-54D and the Kampfpanzer. Of course, there was also the Witch Queen chest, which had a low chance of basically getting an upgraded skin for the commander or an alternate version of the commander with all 9 skills unlocked at first. It was blatant gambling. It was a complete cash grab. I don't know how I feel about it, considering now how we had Metal Fest, but that really upset a lot. I know a few people don't have a problem with this, and there's a few people who really don't have a problem with this. Man bought hundreds of chests. So, which is why all these boycotts and talk of doing this from the few talking heads who are upset about this and have YouTube channels. Unless you are going to make it a law, you're wasting your time. Because some people have problems and other people really like this game, and it's one of their main plays. And if you got the money, you got the money, and I hope you still have money after you spent way too much money on this war chest. I hope you got the tanks that, because they are not licensed, they are not going to be exclusive to this mode, to this time. I don't care what Wargaming says. I will probably, the T-54D, would not be surprised seeing it in 2 years on sale as part of a bundle, or dare I say, because how mediocre it is, it could be a season tank. So I didn't sweat that because I could ignore it, but I understand where a lot of people are coming from. But this isn't a wargaming problem, it's a game industry problem. As more and more game companies, they go to games as a service versus fumbling that, like what happened with Concord. So, yay, the game developers, especially the game companies who want more money, not necessarily good games, are just like, find us ways to make more money off of this product, and don't make us spend more money on more products. We just want we want a golden goose. But it wouldn't help if we had 5 golden geese. Not like that's gonna happen, but Yeah, that's where it was like, wargaming doing wargaming things. And to top it all off, the maps still don't have proper borders. We still have the checkered line. So, I honestly, and after some little experience I've had with my channel, thank you to my 88 subscribers. I've been trying to get to 100 all year. Probably won't make it, but it's been a huge improvement. I'll talk more about that later. But thank you for just clicking subscribe, like and subscribe, comment down below what you think of this year. I know I'm gonna get some salty comments, the 3 I do get, if I get any at all, but honestly, with some of the interaction, especially with people who never knew about this game, I kind of feel that at least for the first 6 months of the year, check it out. I really do think you should check it out. This game, the thing is, this with these types of games as a service, free-to-play games or online games in general, it's never going to be solid. It will be constantly evolving or de-evolving. It'll never be static. It will constantly shift and move for better or worse. And sometimes it will make changes that take it out of your gaming wheelhouse and you just be like, well, my time has come to depart. But the game lives on. Yay for the internet. And other times when that happens, like other people might be like, hey, I've heard of this game, I've been interested in the game, but it was never my kind of tea until now. That's what happened to me about 3 years ago. 6.0 came out and Cold War mode came out, and I started playing Cold War mode after being a World War II only player and then realizing, hey, this has the T-72. This has tanks I'm interested in. It's giving me the diversity I want. And so ever since then, I've really liked World of Tanks Modern Armor. It's again, after what's happened, it's so hard to say it's getting better, but it's slowly making internal changes that we want slowly, but at the same time, it does like to remind us that wargaming as a company as a whole is $1 billion company, privately owned, and will, if like so many of the companies of its ilk, will, if it can test the boundaries of what it can do to make money, it will. And going forward, we have to see what next Christmas is going to be like. As for this game, I hope they do more like this. This has been the most interesting thing to happen, a story-driven mode, and we're getting more to do than just toy tanks. We've got a new map that's new features being tested, where at least we're obviously getting the Chinese rocket tanks that have been in PC for a little over a year now or two. And I have to say, if you're curious about it, please check out World of Tanks Modern Armor. I won't push the recommendation any farther than that, but at the same time, I can't hate it as much as some people who really like to rage bait, but they never uninstall. Some of the people commenting have uninstalled and are just like, oh, I'm glad I did, while they're still watching the videos of the people like, don't do this. Tune in next week for more videos about this. So, with that said, I'm done. In fact, I think I'm done for the day. I don't think I got much more in me. So, thank you so much to those boys and girls in Chicago for producing a game that is, for lack of a better term, keeping us interested. That said, hope you keep your tracks on the ground. RNG's in your favor. Catch you in the next one. Bye.